Who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
Okay. I'm going to start with my number one, Joan Fulp. So I know a lot of people have heard this name, but she's amazing. She is the VP. She's the vice president of the National USA Wrestling Board of Directors now. She's served in a quiet way to sanction all the high school states across the country. She's like literally someone who's so respected. I've been in rooms in USA Wrestling at leadership summits, several places where her voice is just heard and respected, and she's moving the needle. She's kicking the stone down for women's wrestling, so down the road. So I love her. Then I have to go with Patricia Miranda because I work in trying to
Right.
get D1 programs established for women across the country. And Patricia Miranda was at Stanford in the early 2000s. And I'm not sure how she did it, but she was in a room of D1 wrestlers. And like every single one of those D1 wrestlers from her era respect the heck out of her. She was actually inducted into the
Mm-hmm.
National Wrestling Hall of Fame a couple years
I
ago,
was
and
there.
they all
Mm-hmm.
showed up.
She's badass.
And she speaks, and I'm like, this, like, she's just so great. Anyway, love her. Then I would say Gary Abbott, because Gary Abbott was
Mm-hmm.
loving on women's wrestling and promoting it back in the 1980s when maybe two people were reading the articles that he was pouring into. And now, to this day, like if there's an issue, if there's any kind of peril that women's wrestling is in, he's on a committee or a council trying to work it out. I'll be on calls and like he'll unmute himself and I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. Like Gary's going to say something good here.
Well, here it comes.
Yeah. And so I absolutely admire him. And then I'm going to go with my favorite human on the planet, Chris Ayres, because
Mm.
he is the guy that, like, anytime I come to him with a crazy idea, he's like definitely in his head, like, oh God, you're making this more difficult. And they're like, can we just avoid this? But yes comes out of his mouth. And so like his image would be up there in honor of all the men that like know that they're leading, being true leaders by believing in the sport and supporting the sport, even when it's not convenient or easy for them. So those are my four.
That's it.